Hi, this is Monica from Run E Repeat, and I am training for the Boston Marathon as part of the Hyland team. They have put together an all-female group to celebrate something that's a really big deal in female and running and Boston Marathon history. It is going to be the 50th anniversary of the first woman to run the race with the bib, and because of that, they put together an all-female team, and so along the way, we're sharing our training journey and obstacles and motivation and all of that stuff. And because this is a big obstacle that women had to overcome, there was a lot of stigma, a lot of false information with whether or not women should, could, whatever, run a full marathon. So they have challenged us this week to share a big obstacle that we've overcome. And this kind of was a little unsettling because I realized that the biggest obstacle I've overcome, especially when it pertains to running, and this really kind of casts a shadow over a lot of my life, but is that I thought I was too fat to run outside for a really long time. And that's sad and horrible that it was also something that I kind of put on myself. When I started running, I was first just walking on a treadmill for a long time. I think I mentioned this before, go over to my grandma's house and walk on her treadmill, and got bored at some point and just started to run and liked it and would run for like an hour at a time. Sometimes I would watch TV, I would listen to whatever. Like, I really loved running, but I never ran outside. And I just thought I was gonna look dumb and awkward, and I was gonna be way too self-conscious, and I really just got in my head, I psyched myself out. I thought that runners were very thin and fit and just looked very different for me. And I just was too afraid, basically, and too ashamed to run outside until I was kind of forced to. This is how it ended up happening where I did run outside. Is I mentioned to a friend that I liked running, and they had ran, I think, a marathon for a charity or something. And he convinced me to run a 10K with him. And I was like, oh yeah, I could, okay. Like, it was fun, the idea of it. So I was like, yeah, let's have a good time. And then I was like, I have to run outside then. So you would think, run outside the next day. No, I had to psych myself up because I was just really intimidated by it. And so I made that weekend. It was kind of like this set date. I talked to my boyfriend at the time. He lived in Long Beach, and we went out to the Long Beach bike path together, and I ran outside for the first time ever and crossed off the list. I could run outside. Went back to my treadmill for the rest of the couple weeks of training I had left before the 10K. I didn't really follow a training plan. I was just doing whatever. And then ran the race outside. And running the race is what really kind of changed my viewpoint about that barrier that I had set for myself. In people at the race looked normal. They didn't look like what I expected runners to look like. Some people looked like me, some people looked super fit, some people looked whatever, and I was only half paying attention because I was mostly worried about myself. So I think if you have set up a barrier for whatever, for yourself, knock it down. Knock it down. It doesn't need to be there. We have to deal with enough barriers in the world. Don't put ones up for yourself. And I really regret that. I think it's very sad. But at least, if nothing else, I busted through it, and I can share that story with you and tell you that if you're intimidated by something, especially when it pertains to running, runners come in all shapes and sizes and ages and abilities and speeds, and don't even worry about it. Everyone's worried about themselves anyway at a race. Go run and have fun.